This is the September 29th meeting of the Yakima School District Board of Directors. I want to thank you all for being here. We are live streaming and videotaping today's meeting, so you can go back and rewatch that on YouTube, and it will be up probably the beginning to the middle of next week. And we are, like I said, we are also live streaming so that we may have people watching us from afar today. So we're going to get right to it. We have some very special guests with us today to lead us in the pledge.
My name is Elizabeth Blake. My mom is a third grade teacher at McKinley.
My name is Elliot Scheidegger, and my mom is the IF at McKinley.
Hi, my name is Ezra, and my mom is the specialist migrant at McKinley.
My name is Alonso, and my mom is a parent at McKinley.
My name is Neve Scheidegger, and my mom is an IF at McKinley.
My name is Olivia Dean, and my mom is a behavior specialist at McKinley Elementary.
My name is Wally Scheidegger, and my mom is an IF at McKinley. My name is Leo, and my mom works.
Okay, whenever you're ready, you can ask us to rise and then do your ready begin.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nicely done. Nicely done. Bye. Thank you for coming. How many others do you have that are children of people who work here?
There's I think two others.
Two others.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We have lots of kiddos.
Okay, next we have the Yakima land acknowledgement, and Graciela, could you read that for us today? You get it? Mhm.
Yakima land acknowledgement. Today, I think I got it now. Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation. The people of Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties. Today, we honor those Native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture. We acknowledge their descendants who live in the world today. We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial. An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect and a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture. It also honors the truth. As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Thank you, Graciela. And now we've reached the highlight of our meeting. We were talking before the meeting how long it has been since we've been in a school. Typically, we do these pretty much once a month during the school year. We visit a school, and typically that takes about 3 years to get through the cycle. But the cycle was broken for a couple of years, so it's been a long time since we were at McKinley. And I want to thank you on behalf of the board for inviting us. It's always the highlight of our month to be able to come and visit a school and to see what's going on and have you talk about your accomplishments and your challenges and where you're at and where we can help. So we want to thank you very much for this opportunity. Mr. Superintendent, do you want to introduce our principal today?
I would love to. I was just checking back to make sure that we didn't have mics in the back, and we don't. So it's just a true pleasure to think back a couple of years ago when I first came on board, and the leadership that our principal has provided not only for this building but for the district. I'm so grateful for her leadership here at McKinley, for the efforts that she puts forth to reach out not only to students and families and to have the connection that she has with so many, as we saw, family members here, that we could also then benefit not only them but our extended community. And this is a great school here nestled in this neighborhood, and just a pleasure to introduce Principal Voorhees. Thank you.
And if you want to introduce your staff, or
Yes.
yeah, you could do it now or as you go through your presentation. It doesn't matter.
So yes, I will. I wanted to publicly thank Mr. Saucedo. He wasn't able to be here, but he is allowing us to use his room. So sometimes that's a big undertaking for a teacher to let us move in for a little while. So thank you to Mr. Saucedo. Also, I have Lupe Abundis. She is our office manager. Do you want to say hi to everybody? She's our office manager. Tahisha Ayala-Dean. She is our behavior specialist. And Mr. Fisher, our music teacher. So thank you guys for being here. And thank you for all of you guys for being here. It is super exciting for me to get to share about our school. We work very hard in this little school nestled away off of Tieton, and sometimes we feel forgotten. So we love it that you guys are here to hear about all the great things that are happening here with the staff. So our mission here at McKinley is we are all Mavericks, bringing out the best in each other through love and learning. Somos Mavericks, entregando lo mejor de cada uno por medio de amor y aprendizaje. And Miss Hitchcock is our new assistant principal. She's across the hall in a meeting, but she will be joining us. I keep trying to count on my fingers, and I'm either 9 or 10 years at McKinley. So I think it's 10, but my finger math doesn't add up, so I'm not quite sure. 9 or 10 years, and Nicole just started last week. So we're super excited to get to work together. She's just great to have come over from LC, and she's bringing a lot of different insights to the building already. So we're super excited to have her. This is our instructional leadership team. At the top right, you'll see Lupe Abundis, our office manager, Tahisha Ayala-Dean, our behavior specialist, also admin intern, woohoo,
Whoa.
this year. Melinda Bahena is a first grade teacher. She's also going to be part of our dual language program as the classrooms roll up. To this year is our very first year, so we have kindergarten dual language, but Melinda in the future will be part of that dual language team. Cindy Rademacher is currently our kindergarten dual language, one of the 2 kindergarten dual language teachers. Mara Bayard is our academic specialist. Callie Scott is our counselor. Chloe Mitchell, paraeducator. Pete Lund, 4th grade teacher. He will also be part of the dual language program as they roll up to 4th grade. Ryan Hawkins, a 2nd grade teacher. Emma Crawford, 3rd grade teacher. She will also be part of dual language. Twyla Bowersox, paraeducator. And Sarah Scheidegger, you met 3 of her children today. 3 of the 4. And she's our instructional facilitator. And Lydia Williams is a 5th grade teacher here in our building. That is our leadership team. I also want to say we're super excited. Kirsten Fitterer is going to pop in and out of our ILT this year. So we're super excited to have her. And Marcello is also going to be part of our ILT. He has come to a few of our meetings already. So we're excited to add both of those people from the district level to bring their input and feedback, and just to hear day in and day out what's going on at McKinley. Is great to have them as part of the team. So who are the students of McKinley Elementary? So you can see here our makeup is 0.8 American Indian, Alaskan Native, Black African American, 0.8 Hispanic, 81.5%, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, 0.3%, 2 or more races, 3%, white, 3.8%. We have 53.1% of our students female, 46.9% male, and then free and reduced students or students that qualify in that program, even though our district is 100%, this number is actually at 89.7. That's the true number here at McKinley. And as I was putting this slide together, I was trying to reflect back, and I wish I would have added it on here, but things definitely have changed in my 9 or 10 years while I've been here. Seeing those numbers grow in the free reduced qualifying students, our special education at 11.3%, that has also grown. That number has grown. Students in our transitional bilingual at 44%, that has grown. Migrant has always been around 10% for our students here, but the two biggest ones, and I wish I had the numbers, so I apologize for that, is our free reduced meals and the transitional bilingual. That both of those numbers have grown in the last 10 years since I've been here. So today I want to share a little bit about what we've been doing at McKinley and of course how it's tied to the YSD strategic plan. You're going to see, I'm hoping you'll draw the connections between goals 2, empowered, connected, supported, and engaged. Goal 3, equitable opportunity for achieving core mastery and critical thinking. And goal 4, bilingual, biliterate by graduation. Those are the 3 goals that will really that we're really connected to the most. We also work on goals 1 and 5, of course. But as I'm talking with you a little bit about what we have been focused on, you'll probably see that commonality between goals 2, 3, and 4. So it was great. Last year, year before, I don't remember when, but our SIP template, our school improvement plan template, changed, and I loved it. We were a SIG school, and Hector, you probably can attest to this, being a SIG school. It's like every single year you're writing a new SIP plan, and to have somebody say, hold on, we're going to have a SIP plan that's going to go over a span of a few years is wonderful. So these are the goals that we have. And of course, we're going to tweak them. And as we attain our goals, we're going to set higher goals. But this is what we've been focusing on since 2020. Our first goal is all students, all McKinley students and staff will know the characteristics of a successful Maverick learner. We're the Mavericks, in case I didn't say that, we're the Mavericks. Our characteristics of a successful Maverick learner are making responsible choices, always doing your best, valuing others, property and self, and stay safe. At the end of last year, when we checked who knew the MAVS expectations, we were at 93% of our student population and staff that could say what the MAVS expectations were. If we just pulled them aside and said, hey, what's the MAVS expectations? How are you going to be a successful learner at school? This one's important to us because we know that this ties directly to goal 5, which is graduation. And if we can get them at kindergarten, first grade, second grade, really understanding how to be a successful learner, that's going to get them to stay in school and go through junior high and high school, but it starts with us, right? So that is something that we take very seriously, is really trying to help kids become that successful learner that we know they need to be throughout their education experience. Goal number 2 that we've been focused on is all students will show engagement at school through their regular attendance and ownership of learning as measured by individual student data binders and daily attendance records. At the end of last year, 100% of our students at McKinley were doing that work. They were checking they were coloring in their attendance daily. They were tracking their standards, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that and show you some examples of that. Goal number 3, all students will increase their ability to communicate effectively using grade level writing across content, including reading, math, and science. this was my personal goal as the building leader. And Kathy can attest to this. This is something that she and I would sit down and we would say like, okay, what's the focus? What is your own evaluation, the goal in your evaluation going to be on? And it was all around writing across content areas. So we were excited. We saw we increased the number of students scoring a 3 or 4 on this assessment by 30%. We decreased the number of students scoring a 1 by 50%. We cut that in half. So it's exciting. We saw that at the end of last year, and it's extremely exciting then as those kids roll up to the next grade to sit down with the teachers for this year, and they're saying things like, oh my goodness, these kids can write. And like, that's really exciting to see the hard work from last year, that the new teachers can see like, hey, this new influx of students that I'm getting this year has a different set of skills that they haven't had before. So that's really exciting. Goals 4 and 5 are all around student growth percentiles. So that's the reading SGP and math SGP. This is based on the Smarter Balance assessment, and we won't have those student growth percentiles until next spring. We have to wait for another cycle of the SBA to go through before we can get those. So we're looking forward to seeing our student growth percentiles going from 40. The goal is to get to 60 by 2024, especially for our students with disabilities. When we were looking at the data, we noticed that our students with disabilities were not growing at the same rate as our non-students with disabilities. So we really wanted to call that out in these goals, that while we're focused on everybody, we're even more intentionally focused on students with disabilities in those goals. So I wanted to share some proud moments from last year that you'll probably see tie into some of the goals that we just talked about. So, science, 5th grade, end of the years, I'm so excited. 40.3%. This is the highest that we've seen our science scores at McKinley since I've been here, and I think it's fair to say that it's the highest since they started taking the science test. So we're really excited about that. And, we've been reflecting like, why do we think that that's happened? And I believe that it's because we really focused on that writing through the content, not just writing and reading, but they were making sure that they knew how to write in math. They knew how to write in science so that they could write to answer questions and they could write to explain their thinking. And I think it's showing there. Another area that I am very proud of as the building leader is our staff survey, the CEE survey that they take every year. You can see a trend here. The question on that CEE survey is support from my principal or supervisor leads to progress on instructional improvement or professional growth. And in 2019-20, 61% of the staff here answered positively to that. So that tells us we have something to work on, right? Like it should be more than 61% saying that they feel positively to that statement. 2021, it went up to 78%, and then last year, 80%. So the very intentional walkthroughs, the very intentional feedback, the very intentional observation, evaluation cycles is showing up here. And that's exciting to see as the building leader. Another thing that we have focused on last year that was new to us was student voice. And my evaluator is Dr. Kathy Page, and she wanted to come in and she was like, would you be open to doing some student voice circles? And of course, yes, we are. So we started that work just towards the end of last year, and it was super powerful. We had adults. You can see some pictures here. Adults came in, asked students questions, and then just listened. And a lot of the questions were written around, what has the last couple of years been like for you? How was COVID for you? Like, how do you feel about coming to school? Were you excited to go back to school? Those kinds of things. And it was really very insightful, the things that kids were telling us. And we look forward to doing more of that work this year. Another way that we kind of switched our thinking and are really listening to what students are telling us is through the walkthrough. Traditionally, a classroom walkthrough is the principal or member of admin, member of leadership come through, and they really are like, what's the teacher doing? Like they're focused on what's happening in the classroom, but it usually is focused around what is the teacher doing. And last year we kind of flipped it. My teachers are always great. I mean, most of you guys have walked through the building and they always have their doors open. Anybody can come in, anybody can walk through. And so they never pushed back on walkthroughs at all, but they loved the idea of, instead of the focus being on them and what they're doing, the focus being on what the kids are doing. And we tried that. So I would go in and I had 4 questions that I would ask the students. What are you learning? How do you track your performance, or how do you track if you're learning, you're mastering the standard? Why do you think that this is important? And how do you know when you've been successful? This is our end of the year data. So you can see as a building that we're pretty strong. The dark green and light green indicate that we're pretty strong on students being able to say what it is that they're learning. So if you look in the back corner over there, you can see there's the standards. The teachers review the standards. Sometimes they're in form of learning targets. And so students are very capable of either looking up at the board and going, well, right now we're working on quoting accurately from the text when explaining what the text says. But they're also able to put it in their own words now. And that was a big focus for our students. So they are very capable of telling you what it is that they're learning. The next thing that they are doing a great job at is tracking their learning. And I'll show you some examples on the next slide of that student data binders that we were talking about, where they have the standard, the teacher gives them feedback on their work towards that standard, and then they're tracking their progress as they go. So those were 2 very positive, proud moments that we had from just asking students what's happening in the classroom. And then the 2 areas that we know we need to work on more are, why do you think this is important? They have some of the cutest answers. A lot of it is like, because I want to go to middle school, because I want to go to 5th grade, because I want to go to 3rd grade. So they know that there's something else coming, and they need to retain the information that they're given, but we're trying to dig even deeper. We're trying to say, what are the goals that you have? What do you want to be when you grow up? How is this connected to when you go to the grocery store with your mom and dad? So we're really trying to make those connections for students so that they understand why it's important what they're doing in the classroom. And then, how do you know when you're successful? That's the one that we're going to focus on the most this year, is really making sure that kids understand this is what you're learning. This is what the standard is. This is what the whole lesson is around, but success looks like this, and explain that to them. Like, this is how you're going to be successful at the end. You will be able to do X, Y, or Z at the end. And here's a really good example of that. So this is a 2nd grade. So all 3 of these pages came out of student data binders. The first one is a 2nd grade page. And what the 2nd grade team did was they took a 2nd grade standard. I can use strategies to add and subtract numbers within 1,000. That's the 2nd grade standard. And then they went backwards from that, and they put the 1st grade, they put the 2nd grade standards that were the lead up standards to that. They put the 1st grade standards and the kindergarten standards. And they kind of created this ladder. They let the students take their pre-assessment, and then they sat down with each student and said, this is where you're at. This is what I can see that you can do. This is where we need you to be, with a model of what it looks like by the end of our unit. This student, she already was ready to go and work on the 2nd grade standard, but there were many students that were still working on 1st grade or even kindergarten standards. But it was good for them to see what the end result was supposed to look like. And that kind of gave them that like visual of what they were trying to attain. This not only was in their data binder, but it was a big poster about that size on the classroom wall so that they could refer back to it constantly during the unit. So that's some of the work that we're trying to do in making students really know what success looks like in the classroom. This is a kindergarten page where throughout the year, you can see down at the bottom is the month of the year. And then each month they would color in how many more lowercase letters they knew. And so at the beginning, she only knew 5. And then by middle of the year, she knew 18 of her lowercase letters. So that's one way that kindergartners track. And then here's an example for 3rd grade, where they have all the math standards, and then they have formative assessment or the work that they're turning in, and then how they scored. And so they're keeping track. Like this standard, this student knows I pretty much got it, right? Sometimes we might see yellows and reds, and then towards the end, you'll see some greens. Oh, good. They're really working through and learning. Or if you see just reds colored all the way, then we're talking about interventions. What's happening? Why are we not? We've had 5 or 6 different ways, different attempts at that standard. So it's a great visual for kids to be able to say, am I on the right path? Am I making progress on the standard? So again, 100% of our students were using data binders to track mastery of their learning and or attendance. Speaking of attendance, some highlights from last year: 90.3% of our students had regular attendance, which is attending school 79 to 100% of the time. So we're very proud of that. Like to have 90% of our kids coming to school regularly is great. Our goal for this year is to reach 95% of our students attending school regularly. We have an attendance team that meets twice a month, and it is our data specialist, behavior specialist, migrant advocate, registrar, counselor, and the administration. Some of the celebrations we had from last year is we held 12 truancy boards. And that term kind of sounds a little bit scary, like, ooh, a truancy board. But really, it gave us insight into why are the kids not coming to school and what kind of support can we give the families. And so some of the positive outcomes from those truancy boards were just increased attendance. The parents knew that we were tracking it and that we really meant you need to bring your kids to school. But also, a couple of those students needed to go to a boundary school because it was closer to them. It was hard for them to get to school. It was hard for them to get on the bus. And so we were able to help them with that. Giving resources to families like parenting classes, alarm clocks, McKinney Vento identification, gas cards, escorts to school. We even go and pick them up and put them in the car and bring them over. So the counselor, myself, our migrant specialist, I think there's other people that join in on escorting kids to school sometimes. And then wake up calls, even Miss Lupe and Miss Jacare in the office will give kids a phone call because parents are already at work. And so just check in, like, are you up? Are you ready to go? We'll see you at school in 30 minutes. And so they know somebody's waiting for them. And all of that goes back to our mission at the very beginning that said, we're all Mavericks, bringing out the best in each other through love. And this is the love part. This is we're going to get you here because we really need you to be here. And we've spent the last 2 years, more than the last 2 years, but especially the last 2 years, reconnecting with our kids now that they've come back from COVID, and they need that love so much. And I'm very proud of the staff here for just pouring out their hearts to our students and doing whatever it takes to get kids here at school. And now we're going to keep loving them, but we're also going to work on the learning part too. We're going to, set those goals, those high expectations, and really start seeing movement in data. We've held one truancy board so far this year because why not? It's September and you're not coming to school, so let's go. Okay, let's talk about behavior. So our PBIS system. So these are some of the things that you'll see with it built in our PBIS. PBIS is positive behavior intervention and supports. And we have things like MAV tickets. Students earn MAV tickets for just going above and beyond and doing things, helping out around school. And that's a way that staff can recognize students. When they get a MAV ticket, it goes into the little bucket. And then every Friday during lunch, we pull names and we're just giving away prizes constantly. We love rewarding our students. We love giving stuff to them. So every Friday, Tahisha is now she's our behavior specialist. Last year it was McKinley, religiously in there every Friday, giving stuff away to kids, and the kids love it. This little guy here, isn't he so cute? This is our talking Toro. So every classroom has a talking Toro, and he helps us through our restorative process that we have in class. Every classroom, every morning has morning meeting where you get to talk when you have the Toro. So they pass him around, and they do that every single day. And it could be a simple, like, what's your favorite season and why? Or it could be, somebody got pushed down on the playground and we need to talk about, like, how do you think that makes that person feel? Like, just like a social question. And we do that, and we get the kids really good at that process. So then when we have big things happen, they're not so nervous to sit down in a circle and talk to each other. And since we've done that process, the restorative meetings that we've had have been super powerful, because they're used to coming together. They're used to sitting in a circle. They're used to listening to the other person and not talking until they get the Toro to them. And so that practice daily really, really helps with the restorative practice when we have to talk about big, hard things. Again, these are Mav's expectations, and there they are right there in the classroom. Every classroom has them. Again, they are: make responsible choices, always do your best, value others, property, and self, and stay safe. And so everything that we talk about is wrapped around those Mav's expectations. And then something else that you'll see is Mav check. If we're trying to get if you go into my gym and have 500 kids in there and you say Mav check, you will have their attention all at once, because that's our across the building system that they know. Mav check means they better be listening to you. Quiet. Eyes are looking, ears are listening, mouths are quiet, bodies are still. So this is just a little bit of what we've been working on really over the past 5 or 6 years for our Tier 1 PBIS. So again, we talked about the goals. I want to tell you a little bit about what the plan is for mastery. And we're really going to be using and focusing on the professional learning communities lever that TNL came out with. The TNL strategies to achieve high quality teaching and learning. This one is something that we are really going to put all of our eggs in this basket, really. And this is where the work is going to happen. Of course, we're going to continue using and being focused on our multi-tiered systems of support. We spent a lot of time last year really developing what this structure and what this system is, and really making sure that the staff understands the system for Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, and how to access that for themselves and for their students. And so the pillars in you can see here both sides of the house, academic and behavior, both have Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 systems and support set in place. Both sides include assessment, collaboration, instruction, student voice, and professional development. And we're going to continue to be mindful of that as we move forward with using PLCs and PLTs, the PLT process in the building. So our plan for mastery, it looks simple. It kind of sounds simple, but it's going to be really hard and deep work. Our literacy focus is continuing our standards-based unit planning, really identifying what it is we want students to learn and be able to do. How will we know if they've learned it? What will we do if they don't learn it? And what will we provide for them if they already know it going in? And both in our literacy and math focus, we're really going to continue that standards-based unit planning work. Most specifically focusing on question 3. Today, they focused on question 2. So we're not quite there yet, but we need to get to 3. Today in our early release, they really were focused on question 2. But those are kind of the 2 easy questions, right, of the PLC process. So what do we want students to be able to learn? Those are, you have curriculum, you have state standards. Those are kind of spelled out for you. There's some thinking, of course, that goes into that. And then how will we know if they've learned it? We have a lot of different ways to assess students. But then the hard part is, and sometimes we don't always get there, and I say we as a collective group of educators, is what do we do if they don't learn it? Now what? And then unfortunately, sometimes we never get here. What do we do if they already know it? And so we need to be having these 4 questions at the forefront of our mind constantly when we're meeting as teams, making sure that we are moving the work forward quick enough, and not getting stuck in some of some of this work at the top. So it looks short and sweet, but it's going to be a lot of deep, deep work. And then our social emotional learning focus, we're going to continue to maintain our PBIS 1 and 2 systems that we've been working on over the last 5 and 6 years. So I'm super proud. Mr. Fisher is part of the PBIS 2 team, or he has been for the last years. And we have great systems and supports put in place for students who maybe struggle with behavior and need interventions. And we have a full staff that wraps their arms around and are willing to be check-in, check-out buddies for kids and are willing to mentor kids. And so we're going to continue to maintain those PBIS 1 and 2, and then provide teachers with social emotional learning, professional development to help continue to build that relationship and positive classroom culture that we've been focused on for a while. So key initiatives, one of the key initiatives is professional development. Again, we're going to continue with the PLC process, really leaning into the district's professional development with Solution Tree and leading educators. We're going to continue to coach. Our IF in the building does a lot of coaching with all of our teachers. We're going to continue that. I'm excited to start the work of coaching teams. We've never done that before, so that's going to be something new for us, and that's really exciting work. And then again, the PBIS 1, 2, and 3 training and coaching. This is some information that came out of last year's CEE survey. So the question is, are teachers engaged in professional development to learn and apply new skills and strategies? And 81% of our teachers responded positively to that. So you'll see right here, 34 always agree, and then they strongly agree, and then they agree here. So we're going to continue. That work is already happening, and we're going to continue with that. Again, collaboration, that theme is still here and something that we're focused on. You'll see in the CEE data last year, the teachers said, they answered the question, my professional learning community work results in improved student learning. And you can kind of see we've been in the 80s, and last year we jumped to 90%. So 90% of our teachers responded positively and said, yes, that is happening. When we get together and work as a PLC, it really improves student learning. And student voice is going to stay. We're going to continue to work on this. I talked about the student voice circles and our student focused walkthroughs. Those will stay for this next year. And then I thought it was interesting, question or goal number 1 on the district goals was around hearing what the students are saying. So do they feel safe at our school? Do they feel connected to other adults? And when I was putting this PowerPoint together, I didn't have that data. We had it from our CEE survey last year, but maybe the question was a little bit off, or we only had 19 kids take that question. So I just sent it out last week, and I had 119 students take it 2nd through 5th grade. And I just said, here's 2 questions I want you guys to answer. So currently the state of McKinley, with these 2 questions, the kids are saying, I feel safe at this school. 74.8% of our students answer positively, strongly agreeing or agreeing to that statement. So right here, 74.8%. And then I feel connected to other adults and students at this school. 75.7% of our students responded positively to that. So it's a really good starting point for us. And we're going to continue to build on that and make sure that the other 25% of our kids, we need to find out what it is. What is it that kept you from responding so positively here? So that's going to be the work probably for our PBIS 1 team to really dig into finding out those answers. Okay, I was excited about all of it, but I'm really excited about this. Dual language, first year at McKinley. So I wanted to introduce Maestra Rademacher and Maestra Ramirez. That's the 2 right here. They are our kindergarten dual language teachers. I have 2 videos that I would love to share with you. As you can see, we have quite a few staff students in our building. One that wasn't here is my little kindergartner, Allie. This is Allie, so you get to hear from Allie today. But this, to be honest, Rob knows, he can attest to this. I have been so excited and looking forward. I kept asking Rob, when do we get to do dual language? When do we get to do dual language? I was super jealous I wasn't on round one. But in the hiring process over the last 9 years or 10 years, I can't quite figure it out, that I've been here, that has been my focus because I knew eventually we would get there. And I'm super proud to say that we have one Spanish speaking teacher at every single grade level. And we have two specialists who can support dual language as well. In fact, Mr. Fisher, I'm so glad you're here today. Mr. Fisher, we sat down with our dual language team and we were like looking at the numbers and we were looking at the percentage of Spanish versus English in the classroom and we were short on some minutes. And we said, Mr. Fisher, would you teach our kinders Spanish, music in Spanish? And he said, sure. So Mr. Fisher is doing, he said, sí. Good joke, Rob. So Mr. Fisher and Mr. Araujo is our PE teacher. They are both starting with our kinders and teaching specialists. So now we have the right amount of minutes. Our kids are getting Spanish in the day. So I will, this classroom here is Miss Rademacher's classroom. And so I'll let you see them first. This is Allie right here in Miss Rademacher's class. And you're going to see a lot of gestures, right? Because a lot of these kids don't know Spanish. So there's a lot of gestures that are going on. A lot of what she does is called whole brain teaching. And it is in our English classrooms as well. So she's just kind of taken it and put her little Spanish spin on it. So here we go.
Para afuera. Digan conmigo, yo soy inteligente. Digan, yo soy un lobo. Yo tengo un cerebro grande. Aquí va. Clase. ¿Cuántos ves? Estoy buscando por un lobo. ¿Cómo me preguntas cómo un lobo para ir al baño? Te deberías de sentar. Enséñame cómo se pide ir al baño. Sí, Sebastián puede decir. Ahora, estoy buscando un lobo que me quiera decir cuántos ven. ¿Okay? Camila. ¿Cuántos ves? 5. Amor para Camila. Gracias, Camila. Busco otro lobo. Lari. ¿Cuántos ves? 5. Amor para Lari. Otro lobo. Ali. ¿Cuántos ves? 5. Amor para Ali. Un lobo más. A ver. Liria. ¿Cuántos ves? 5. Amor para Liria. A ver, vamos a contar a ver cuántos hay. ¿Listos? Cuenten conmigo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ¿Cuántos hay? 5. Es correcto. Camila dijo 5, Lori dijo 5, Ali dijo 5 y Lidia dijo 5. Denle su cerebro un beso pero grande. Excelente. Ahora, todos digan pausa. Lo que sigue. A ver, George, ¿listos? Digan conmigo. Estaciones de matemáticas. Lo que sigue es que vamos a poner las estaciones de matemáticas. ¿Sale, vale? Oh.
And then we'll hear from Allie.
Mi nombre es Alexandria. Mi escuela es McKinley Elementary. Estoy aprendiendo a hablar en español.
Do you want to tell them some things that you've learned so far this year?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Great job. It's about how fast you can go, right? So one thing I wanted to point out, you probably see it here in the classroom. So we have turtles and wolves, and that's part of one of the focuses that we have in the classroom is if they're being a turtle, they're doing things really slowly and sloppily. And so they don't want to be turtles. They want to be wolves. And so you heard her, I think is Lobo, is that the wolf? So you heard her refer to the kids as like, we want to be wolves. Who's my next wolf? And so wolves do everything with intention and correctly, and not necessarily correctly, but with confidence, right? Wolves do things with confidence. So all of our classrooms have turtles and wolves, and they do the turtle and wolf points, and that's just part of something that we do school-wide. Whoops. Next. Okay, so that is the end. Thank you for your time today and allowing me to tell you about the great work that's happening at McKinley. Gracias por su tiempo hoy y permitir decirles las gran trabajo que está pasando en McKinley. I'm working on my Spanish, so I wanted to practice. So, preguntas?
Any questions for this great staff and our wonderful principal? Questions from the board? Comments?
A couple questions. You talked about your attendance, right? Congratulations. That's a
Thank you.
great number. You also talked about a truancy board and finding out some reasons that your students aren't attending. You'd mentioned student or parents going to work early. What are some of the other reasons that you learned through that process that students are not attending school?
So one of the reasons I think is for 2 years, kids stayed home and parents got to stay home with their kids. And sometimes kids don't want to go to school and parents don't know how to set that boundary. And so I think that sometimes we need to help them. And even if it's just having them come in, tell the family that we're supporting you. Like whatever help you need, we'll give it to you. We'll help you. But sometimes they just need that extra help, like backing them up. And we say to their child, like, mom and dad are in charge. When they tell you to get up and time to get dressed and ready to go to school, it's time to do that. And so then they go, oh, mom and dad and the school are all on the same team. Now I have to listen to everybody. It's not just mom and dad, it's the school too. So it's just kind of like creating that team around the kids. So that would be one of the reasons. I think for the majority of our kids that have attendance, it's they don't want to come to school, and maybe parents have a hard time enforcing it.
Okay. And then you talked about coaching teams, and that was new. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what the function is of the coaching team and how they work?
So traditionally, we've had our IF, our instructional facilitator. She'll go in and she'll work with all of the staff, but it's individual. And so she might go in and model a lesson based on something that they would like to see modeled. So she is GLAD trained, our Ms. Scheidegger. And so a lot of times they'll say, can you come in and can you show us some GLAD strategies? And so she'll come in, she'll model it. Then a couple days later, she'll come back and she'll watch them teach it. And then she'll give them feedback. So it's very individualized. Now we're saying we're working so closely together as a team. As a team, what is it that you guys are working on? As a team, how can we coach you together? So instead of it just being Sarah going into classrooms, maybe it's teacher A wants to go watch teacher B, and Sarah can then take over her classroom, and instead of being always the model, she can have that person go into their teammates. So really they're seeing their team teach, and they're learning from each other that way. So that's kind of one of the things. I'm sure that there's a lot of other ways that team coaching happens, but that's the one that comes to mind the most, is helping teachers be able to do some peer observing. And right now they're just kind of with the IF doing that work.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
And I always like to ask if the school board gave you a magic wand to do whatever you wanted to do to make all kids.
This is always
I
a
love
tricky
this
question. Dr. Green always cringes whenever she asks this question.
He already knows what I'm gonna say.
Well, I
Don't
see
you?
some Harry Potter, so if you had the
I had the magic wand, the Harry Potter wand.
Yep, what would you do?
Nope, it's not fence because the fence you guys saw is already going up. So I'm not gonna wish for that. It's the playground. The playground's next.
Okay.
So if I had a magic wand, I would go, "Boop, we need a playground. And I
Okay.
think it's in the works.
Okay.
Right? Right? I mean, I just want a playground. Just a little thing for the kids to climb on. That's not too much.
Well, thank you so much. I love the energy that you bring to the team here and the environment here. And thank you so much for the presentation. It was really in depth and I learned a lot. And really appreciate your energy as well. I can
Thank
see
you.
why the staff scored you so high on support from the principal that jump a couple of years ago. So congratulations on that.
I
And
love
thank you
my
so
staff.
much for all your
They're
work.
great. If you ever get a chance to just come and walk through the building, you feel free to come, however that works out. But we would welcome any of you guys to come through. It's an amazing group of people here in this building. So
Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Graciela. Any other questions or comments from board members?
Yes, I do have a few comments. I just want to thank you for your leadership and
thank you.
all the work that you're doing. Also that of the teachers and staff, everybody at McKinley. From the presentation, it does seem, you're showing that there's great work that's going on at McKinley. So I do appreciate, I can just see the kids, when they came in and then in the videos that they are indeed learning. And really, and when it comes down to it, that's what it's all about, right? Is increasing those scores and our kids learning and being successful. What I really appreciate is the instructional model that you pointed out and making learning transparent, right? So, I really liked when you pointed out the course or the lesson learning objectives or outcomes, right? And objectives that you pointed out on the board. And I think that when students know that what's expected from them and what they need to learn, then they're more apt to learn it, right? To be successful. So I really appreciated that part of the presentation. And I know that's probably the new direction, right? For instruction and working with kids, especially coming out of the pandemic and all the things that they bring to school. And I think that instructional model is an awesome one. And I think I really appreciate that.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to just compliment you on everything that you're doing, but I also especially liked that every student is recording and graphing and monitoring their own learning. That's exceedingly self-motivating. And, I think that's just a great strategy, and I'm glad you're getting it school-wide.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
Only thing I'll add, Principal Voorhees said something in the beginning, and I know it's a self-deprecating thing about being a small, tucked away neighborhood school. If I could impart anything on you and your staff, it's that McKinley has a storied and fabulous reputation in this community as being a very strong neighborhood school. And I would really want you and your staff to know that sense of pride that we feel in the community when we represent people around the area. It's easy to fall back in on ourselves and the challenges we're facing. And it's also very, very important that everyone remember that, moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas all around us went to McKinley and have thrived here for a long time. And that history is something we are very proud of, and we want you guys to be very proud of it too.
Yes. Thank you. I will
Thank you,
say
Ryan.
I've had 3 people over the summer ask me to send them pictures of the old school. So we still have people that will stop by and just say, we went to school here in the 50s. It's a different building, but Mr. Walker did?
1956
So,
to 1962.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up because there is a huge pride in McKinley. Thank you.
Amanda, I just want, before I turn it over to the superintendent, I just want to thank you for a very well-rounded presentation. You touched on all the things that are important to us, and particularly focusing on the strategic plan and the goals. What I really appreciated, and it came through not only in your presentation, but in the 2 little videos that we saw, students are excited, and the staff is focusing on making sure that their social emotional needs are being met. And having come through what we came through the last 2 years, that is so critical to making sure that they're all successful, every single last one of them. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for what you're doing here and leading this staff and making McKinley this little jewel
Yes,
that we know that it is.
Thank you.
Dr. Green?
Thank you, President Rice, and thank you, Principal Voorhees and staff. It's always wonderful to come to this building, and one of the things I always like to do is stop by our kinder classrooms. I did so today, and there was a session of teams that were participating, some of which are in the back of this room, and I was quickly reminded as I spoke from the hallway that I had to speak in Spanish because they were a dual language school and the teachers were speaking in Spanish in the room, to which I quickly replied, I'm okay because I'm in the hallway and I'm speaking English, but then I switched to Spanish. I say this because it's just wonderful the way that our staff and our principal have embraced the dual language opportunity. And I think back to a few years ago, in '94, when I came back as a teacher. And one of the things that brought me back, obviously, was community coming from this area and wanting to return home. We were on the cusp of having children, and the biggest, I'd say, frustration at that time was not having access to a dual language program. So as a young parent, I wanted my child to be able to grow up and to be bilingual. And I remember thinking, if only I could get in at Bellevue or someplace over on the west side that already had dual language, but it wasn't home. And so coming here was the place that we returned to. And now I'm just very happy, and I think the staff is as well, and the community, for the leadership that you've shown as a board for our strategic plan, and knowing that we have a commitment that at least 75% of our PK schools will have access to a two-way dual language program by 2026. And as you saw, the students speaking and valuing their own language and culture, and then students who are becoming bilingual, having that opportunity moving forward is something that we should be very proud of as a community, and it's because of you and your leadership. So I did want to take the time to certainly recognize all that you're doing for our community in front of our principal here and our teachers, and let them know that it's because of your vision and foresight and support of our strategic plan that was community developed that we have this wonderful opportunity going forward. So thank you, and thank you for your implementation of this, Principal Voorhees, and for your staff as well.
Somos uno, right?
Somos uno, and we lead with that. Somos uno, we are one.
Sure done.
Okay, if the staff wishes, you don't have to stay. We are almost done. I mean, this is the shortest agenda in the world. But if you have other things that are pulling at you and need to leave, we understand that completely. So thank you for your attendance today, and for joining Principal Voorhees and making sure that McKinley is shining. Thank you very much. Dr. Green. Well, next we have reports from members of the board. Are there any reports from board members? Just a reminder that we have General Assembly coming up Friday and Saturday. It is virtual, so you have to contact WASDA and get your login information to watch. I think there's if you go on the website, there's a link that will take you to an email address or something that you can log into and get your login information. If there's nothing else from board members, Dr. Green, do you have some reports for us?
I have a few items. I was going to mention the WASDA General Assembly, so thank you for doing that. On top of that, we have a Partners in Education meeting. So those are our business leaders in the area and the community. That is Wednesday, September 28th at 11:30 a.m. in conference room A and B at the Central Services. If anybody would like to attend, we have had members of the board in the past be part of that group. So again, Partners in Education, Wednesday, September 28th at 11:30 a.m. We can let Barb know if you're interested.
Because if we have 3 or more, she'll have to do a quorum notice. So, okay. I'm not this time, but maybe next time.
Graciela, no. Raymond? I don't think so. Fine. Okay. So we have either way. So if you can make it, that'd be great. That would be perfect. We also have a faith-based partner meeting. That's Tuesday, October 11th. And that's at 11:30, and that'll be at YV Tech. So again, our faith-based partners, if you have not attended that at some point over the next coming years, it would be great to see all of our, if you can't make this one, having all of our faith-based leaders together with our school principals and their teams in some cases is just a bright star for our community. So again, that's Tuesday, October 11th at 11:30 a.m. at YV Tech. And we'll bring that up maybe next week to see if there are any takers as we get closer to that date. The community facilities, help me out here, Rob, CFAC. Thank you. I'm still learning the acronym there. Capital Facilities Advisory Committee, which is the group of community leaders and volunteers that will be a part of a process to put forward a bond proposal that will come to me and then come to you as a board, is scheduled for Wednesday, October 5th. So we're excited again to get that started and come to you with a plan moving forward. This building that you're in is one of our oldest, and I would imagine would be on the list for rebuild. But we'll see once the action committee comes up with their suggestions. So that gets kicked off on October 5th.
Do we have all the positions filled?
Mike?
We have 18 of the 22 positions for the at-large positions filled, and it's almost equal 50-50 for West and East representation. So we're excited about it. So either way, we have a really solid large committee to move forward.
Good.
I believe 32 total so far out of anticipated 40.
Like trying to herd cats, getting that group to agree on one thing, I suppose. But
we're excited.
All right, looking forward to it.
Wonderful. And then the last item is I did include a link in the board docs, and that is actually to the legislative priorities from OSPI. So if you would like to copy and paste that, I did not print out the entire priorities, but if you go back into this, you'll have access to see what OSPI is coming forward and promoting for legislative priorities, and that's in the superintendent update. The last item under public content, again, it's just a link and it's not active. You'd have to copy and paste. That concludes the superintendent update for today.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Any questions from board members? Okay. Next, we have what would have been comments from the public on agenda items, if we had any agenda items. We have no approvals today, so this will just be comments from the public for anything. Or do we have anybody that signed up? No. Okay. Do we have a need for executive session?
We do not.
All right. Okay, somebody needs to write down how long this meeting is. It's one of the shortest Monday afternoon meetings. Thank you. Okay, is there anything for the good of the order? All right. Thank you all very much for joining us. I'm very excited to be back into buildings again. I think this is just, if I could get up and dance a jig, I would do that. Thank you all. Travel safe going home. We are adjourned.